You know, sometimes family can be the hardest to say no to. But there are moments when standing your ground is the only thing that makes sense. This was one of those moments. Let me take you back to where it all began. My husband and I own a livery yard, a piece of land we've poured our hearts and souls into. We've built it from the ground up, and it's more than just a business to us. It's a living, breathing part of our lives. My husband, a riding instructor, and I have students who come here to ride. We also offer stabling services for those who want to keep their horses with us. Our clients, some of whom have been with us for over a decade, are like family. They rely on us, and we rely on them. It's a delicate balance, but one that we cherish. Last year, my sister approached me with a request. She wanted to use part of our orchard for a small, intimate wedding. The idea seemed charming at first. A picturesque scene with the sun filtering through the apple trees, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves. I agreed, envisioning a simple gathering of loved ones, much like the ones we'd host when we were kids, carefree and full of laughter. She also wanted to host her baby shower the following day. It sounded reasonable, so I told her we could make it work. We'd square off a section of the orchard, make sure it was perfect for her special day. But as the months passed, the simplicity of her request began to unravel. It was no longer just about a small wedding and a baby shower. The list of demands she sent me was sprawling and, frankly, impossible. She wanted our property to transform into something it could never be. A place devoid of its essence, its life, its purpose. She wanted no strangers or clients on the property, no hustle and bustle, and certainly no horse odor. The horses had to be out of sight, out of mind, and there could be no children around because she wanted a child-free wedding. She even wanted to use the indoor riding arena for the main baby shower event. I read her list multiple times, trying to wrap my head around the enormity of what she was asking. It felt as though she was asking me to erase everything that made our land what it is. Our clients, the horses, the workers who care for them. They're not just a part of the scenery, they're part of our lives. And the smell of horses, well, it's like the scent of home to me. When I finally picked up the phone to call her, my heart was heavy. I knew this conversation was going to be difficult. I explained as gently as I could that I couldn't meet her demands. Our clients pay for unrestricted access, and it wouldn't be fair to deny them that. The workers couldn't just disappear. The horses needed care. And the smell? That was as much a part of our place as the apple trees or the barn itself. I offered her a compromise. We could keep people away from the main event, perhaps make it feel more secluded. But the business couldn't simply stop for 2 days. It wasn't feasible. She wasn't happy. She wasn't just unhappy. She was furious. The conversation escalated quickly, her voice rising in anger. She swore at me, insulted both me and my husband, and called our beloved property a shithole. It stung more than I care to admit. Then came the intervention of our mother. My sister ran to her, painting me as the villain in her story. I was the one who was ruining her special day, putting money over family. My mother, bless her, sided with her, urging me to reconsider. They both accused me of breaking my promise, of being selfish. But here's the thing. I never promised her a fantasy. I promised her a venue within the limits of what we could reasonably provide. And those limits had been stretched beyond recognition. Half of my family took my sister's side, insisting it was her special day, and I should do everything in my power to accommodate her. The other half stood by me, reminding me gently that it was my property and I had every right to make the final decision. I felt torn, caught in the crossfire of familial expectations and my own sense of responsibility to our business. As the days turned into weeks, the pressure only mounted. My sister and mother decided to cut me off completely unless I apologized and allowed the wedding to proceed as planned on our terms. It was a painful ultimatum, but as much as it hurt, I knew I couldn't relent. Our business was our livelihood, and I couldn't jeopardize it, not even for family. In a surprising twist, my sister's fiancé reached out to me. He apologized on her behalf, admitting he wasn't aware she had left things so last minute or that she had acted so out of line. He's a good guy, caught in the middle of a storm he never saw coming. I appreciated his candor, but it didn't change the situation. The decision had been made. Now we're at a stalemate. I'm not hosting the wedding, and my sister and I aren't speaking. It's a strange, disconcerting silence between us, one that echoes through the corridors of my mind. I've told her and our mother that if they show up uninvited, we won't hesitate to involve the authorities. It's a drastic measure, but one I feel is necessary to protect what's ours. In the aftermath of it all, as the dust begins to settle, I find myself reflecting on the nature of family and the boundaries we set. Was I putting money over my sister? Perhaps in her eyes, but I see it differently. I see it as protecting the life my husband and I have built, the community we've nurtured, and the future we're striving to secure. I want to thank everyone who took the time to listen, to offer advice and kind words. Your support has been invaluable in navigating this emotional quagmire. I may not be able to respond to each of you individually, but know that your comments have been a source of strength and clarity. This chapter may not have ended with a fairy tale resolution, but it's a conclusion I can live with. And sometimes that's the best you can hope for. Subscribe for more stories. In the quiet moments that followed the fallout, I found myself wandering through the orchard, the very place that had become the center of our family conflict. The air was crisp with the scent of ripening apples, and the gentle rustle of leaves provided a soothing backdrop to my thoughts. This land, with its sprawling fields and steadfast horses, had been my sanctuary for years. It was here that my husband and I had poured our souls into building a livelihood, a refuge for others who shared our passion for these magnificent animals. As I walked, I couldn't help but replay the heated conversations with my sister in my mind. Her words, sharp and caustic, still echoed around me, mingling with the more gentle whispers of the orchard. The accusation that I was choosing money over family stung deeply, but beneath the hurt lay a layer of steadfast resolve. It wasn't just about money, it was about the integrity of what we had built, about honoring commitments to those who had supported us over the years. I thought back to when we were children, running through these same fields, laughing without a care in the world. Back then, it was easy to believe in the simplicity of family ties, how they should, in theory, overcome all obstacles. But adulthood had a way of complicating those once clear lines, introducing shades of grey where there had only been black and white. The horses grazed peacefully in the fields, their presence a comforting reminder of the constancy I sought. They were unaffected by human drama, their lives governed by a simpler rhythm. I envied them in that moment, wishing for a brief escape from the tangled web of family obligations and interpersonal strife. My sister's fiancé had shown unexpected grace in reaching out to me, a beacon of understanding amidst the storm. His apology was sincere, and I saw in him a man caught between loyalty to his future wife and recognition of the unreasonable demands she had made. I hoped he might be a calming influence on her, someone who could help her see beyond the immediate disappointment to the bigger picture. As for my mother, her involvement was a bitter pill to swallow. I had always sought her approval, her understanding, but in this instance, her unwavering support for my sister felt like a betrayal. Yet, even knowing this, I couldn't find it in my heart to be angry with her. She was caught in the same familial web, trying to balance her love for both of her daughters, albeit imperfectly. I sat down on a weathered wooden bench at the edge of the orchard, allowing myself a rare moment of vulnerability. Tears welled up unbidden, a release of the pent-up tension and heartache. It was a cathartic moment, one that allowed me to let go of some of the bitterness and resentment that had been building inside me. In the days that followed, I found solace in the routine of the yard. The care of the horses, the interactions with our clients, and the steady rhythm of the daily work provided a grounding force. Each day, the sting of the confrontation lessened, replaced by a growing acceptance of the situation. I reached out to friends, those who had been a steadfast support throughout this ordeal, and found strength in their unwavering belief in me. Through their eyes, I began to see the situation more clearly. It wasn't just a matter of choosing between family and business. It was about standing firm in my values, about respecting the boundaries I had set for myself and for the life I had chosen. It was about understanding that sometimes, in order to protect what you hold dear, you have to be willing to weather the storm of disapproval and misunderstanding. The decision not to host the wedding and baby shower had not been made lightly, nor without considerable heartache. But in the end, it was a decision that honored the life my husband and I had built together. And for that, I had no regrets. As spring turned to summer, the orchard bloomed with new life, a testament to the resilience of nature. And within me, a similar bloom of hope began to unfurl. I held on to the possibility that, in time, my sister and I might find a way back to each other, that our relationship could be rebuilt on a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. For now, though, I focused on the present, on the work at hand, and on the community that continued to thrive around us. It was a life not without challenges, but one rich in purpose and fulfillment. And that, I realized, was worth holding on to. One morning, as the first light of dawn spilled over the horizon, I found myself in the stables, tending to the horses as they whinnied softly in greeting. The familiar scent of hay and earth surrounded me, grounding me in the present moment. Despite the turmoil with my family, this was where I felt most at home, where my heart felt lightest. As I brushed the coat of a gentle mare named Luna, I allowed my mind to wander, tracing the arc of my relationship with my sister. We had been close once, sharing secrets under the stars, dreaming of futures that seemed so far off. It pained me to see the distance that had grown between us, a chasm widened by misunderstandings and unmet expectations. But as I groomed Luna, her steady presence a balm to my weary soul, I started to grasp the importance of boundaries, of the necessity to protect what was truly mine. The yard was more than just a business. It was a testament to the hard work and dreams my husband and I had poured into it. It was a living entity that needed care and attention, much like the relationships we cherished. Later that day, while tending to the orchard, I noticed a family arriving for their riding lesson. The children, their faces alight with excitement, reminded me of the joy and wonder that could be found in small moments. Their laughter was infectious, and for a brief moment, my worries faded into the background. It was in these interactions that I found solace, knowing that what we offered here was valued and cherished by so many. As the weeks passed, memories of the argument with my sister began to lose their sharp edges, softened by time and introspection. I began to understand that her demands, while unreasonable, were not born out of malice, but rather a desire for a perfect day, one unmarred by compromises or inconveniences. It was a desire I could empathize with, even if I couldn't fulfill it. My husband, ever the voice of reason, suggested we take a short trip to clear our heads, a brief escape from the weight of the recent events. We decided on a weekend away, leaving the yard in the capable hands of our trusted staff. It was a decision that felt right, a chance to reconnect with each other and remember why we had embarked on this journey together in the first place. As we drove through the countryside, the landscape unfolding in a tapestry of greens and golds, I felt a sense of peace begin to settle over me. The open road stretched ahead, a reminder of the endless possibilities that lay beyond the immediate horizon. We talked, laughed, and shared stories, rediscovering the simple joys of each other's company. Upon our return, I found myself renewed, ready to face whatever lay ahead with a clearer perspective. I reached out once more to my sister, leaving the door open for future conversations, hopeful that time would heal the rift between us. It was a tentative gesture, but one that carried with it the promise of reconciliation. In the meantime, life at the yard continued its steady rhythm. The horses, our constant companions, were a source of unwavering comfort. They reminded me that life, like the seasons, was cyclical, marked by periods of growth and dormancy, joy and sorrow. Each phase was necessary, a part of the greater tapestry of existence. Reflecting on the events that had transpired, I came to realize that the conflict, while painful, had taught me invaluable lessons about resilience, about the importance of standing firm in my convictions, and about the strength of the community we had built. It had reaffirmed my commitment to the life we had chosen, one filled with purpose and passion. As I walked through the orchard one evening, the setting sun casting a warm glow over the fields, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for all that we had. The path ahead was uncertain, but I knew that whatever challenges we might face, we would meet them together, with courage and grace. And so, with a heart full of hope and a spirit renewed, I continued forward, embracing the life we had crafted, knowing that it was one worth fighting for. As the days slipped into weeks, the tension with my sister and mother lingered like a shadow at the back of my mind, but I was determined not to let it consume me. Life at the yard continued, each day filled with its own rhythm and demands. The familiar routine was a comfort, a reminder that some things remained steadfast even in the midst of family turmoil. One afternoon I found myself sitting on the porch overlooking the orchard, a cup of tea warming my hands. The tranquility of the scene before me contrasted sharply with the emotional turbulence I had been navigating. The gentle sway of the trees in the breeze, the distant sound of horses, and the laughter of clients mingling with the calls of birds. It was all a balm to my weary soul. I couldn't help but reflect on the choices I had made. Standing firm against my sister's demands had not been easy, but it had been necessary. There was a part of me that ached for the relationship we once had, the sister who had been my confidant and friend. I longed for the days when we could talk without tension, share our lives without the weight of unresolved conflict hanging between us. But I knew that reconciliation would not be immediate, nor should it be forced. It required time, patience, and a willingness to understand each other's perspectives. I hoped that my sister would come to see the situation from my side, to appreciate the constraints I faced and the reasons behind my decisions. Until then, I would give her the space she needed, just as I needed my own. My husband, always my pillar of strength, suggested we host a small gathering at the yard. A way to reconnect with friends and clients, to remind ourselves of the community that supported us. It was a wonderful idea, one that filled me with a sense of purpose and anticipation. Planning the event became a welcome distraction, a chance to focus on something positive and uplifting. As the day of the gathering approached, I felt a renewed sense of excitement. We decorated the yard with strings of lights and simple floral arrangements, transforming the space into a warm and inviting setting. The smell of freshly baked bread and grilled vegetables wafted through the air, mingling with the earthy scent of hay and horses. Our friends and clients arrived, filling the yard with a lively buzz of conversation and laughter. It was heartening to see the joy on their faces, to witness the connections that had formed over the years. In that moment, I was reminded of the importance of community, of the bonds that enriched our lives and provided a sense of belonging. Throughout the evening, I found myself engaged in heartfelt conversations, each one reinforcing the decision I had made. There were stories shared, memories recalled, and new friendships forged. It was a reminder of why we had chosen this path, of the fulfillment that came from nurturing a space where people could come together and find joy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the yard, I felt a profound sense of peace. The conflict with my sister was still unresolved, but for the first time in weeks, it no longer felt like an insurmountable obstacle. I had faith that, in time, we would find our way back to each other. The gathering wound down with a sense of camaraderie and contentment. As I stood with my husband, watching our guests depart, I felt an overwhelming gratitude for the life we had built together. It was not without its challenges, but it was rich in love, friendship, and meaning. In the days that followed, I reached out to my sister again, extending an olive branch in the hope of bridging the gap between us. I sent her a letter, sharing my thoughts and feelings, expressing my desire to understand her perspective, and to find a way forward together. It was a step towards healing, a gesture of goodwill that I hoped would be met with an open heart. Life at the yard returned to its usual rhythm, each day a testament to the resilience and beauty of the world we had created. The horses, our constant companions, continued to offer their gentle presence, reminding me of the simple joys that could be found in everyday moments. As I moved through the routines of my day, I carried with me a sense of hope and possibility. The path to reconciliation with my sister might be long and uncertain, but I was willing to walk it one step at a time. And in the meantime, I would cherish the life we had crafted, knowing that it was filled with love, laughter, and the promise of new beginnings. One evening, as I sat on the porch again, sipping my tea and watching the horses graze lazily in the field, I found myself reflecting on the letter I had sent to my sister. The act of writing it had been therapeutic, a release of the emotions that had been pent up inside me for so long. I had poured my heart into those pages, hoping that she would understand the depth of my feelings and the reasons behind my decisions. The days that followed were filled with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. I knew that reaching out was the right thing to do, but the uncertainty of her response weighed heavily on my heart. Would she be receptive to my olive branch? Or would she remain entrenched in her anger and resentment, unwilling to see past her own grievances? My husband, ever the supportive partner, reassured me that by extending the hand of reconciliation, I had already taken the first and most important step. "You've shown her that you're willing to meet her halfway," he said one evening as we sat together, watching the stars prick holes in the velvety night sky. "That's all you can do, really. The rest is up to her." His words, as always, were a balm to my unease, and I nodded, feeling a sense of calm settle over me. Whatever happened next, I had done my part. I had reached out with love and understanding, and now it was up to my sister to decide if she wanted to reach back. In the meantime, life at the yard continued, each day a tapestry woven with the familiar threads of work and companionship. The horses, with their gentle natures and patient eyes, offered a constant reminder of the beauty and resilience, and the grace of acceptance. They lived in the moment, unburdened by the complexities of human relationships, and in their presence, I found solace. One afternoon, as I was grooming one of our older mares, a horse I'd known since she was a foal, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. Wiping my hands on my apron, I pulled it out, my heart skipping a beat when I saw my sister's name on the screen. She had replied. Taking a deep breath, I opened the message. Her words were tentative, the tone of someone trying to navigate the choppy waters of reconciliation. She acknowledged the letter I had sent, appreciated my honesty, and admitted that she had acted out of frustration and stress. She was overwhelmed by the wedding planning, and in her desire for the perfect day, she had lost sight of what truly mattered. Reading her words, a wave of relief washed over me. It wasn't a complete resolution, but it was a start, a glimmer of hope that we could find our way back to each other. I quickly typed a response, expressing my gratitude for her willingness to communicate and my desire to support her in any way that I could, within reason. We exchanged several more messages over the next few days, each one bringing us a little closer to understanding and forgiveness. It was a slow process, like the gentle thaw of winter giving way to spring, but it was progress nonetheless. As we worked towards mending our relationship, I found myself reflecting on the nature of family and the complexities that come with it. Family ties are often fraught with tension and misunderstandings, but they are also resilient, capable of withstanding the storms of conflict and emerging stronger on the other side. With each conversation, I felt the weight of the past lifting, replaced by a renewed sense of connection and shared history. My sister and I weren't there yet, but we were on our way, and for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about our future. The journey towards reconciliation taught me valuable lessons about patience, empathy, and the importance of standing firm in one's convictions while remaining open to dialogue and understanding. It reminded me that, while we can't choose our family, we can choose how we respond to them and how we cultivate our relationships with them. As the days turned into weeks, I continued to nurture the life my husband and I had built at the yard, cherishing the moments of joy and fulfillment that came from our work and the community we had fostered. The conflict with my sister had been a challenging chapter, but it had also been an opportunity for growth and reflection, a reminder of the strength and resilience that lay within us all. And as I stood once more on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey we were on. It wasn't always easy, but it was ours, and it was filled with the promise of brighter days ahead. Subscribe for more stories.